We won't get into perhaps we will get into how to avoid or maybe go back to a better arrangement. Neil, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Jeremy. Yes, I am.
Wonderful to talk to you. How to Avoid Costly Mistakes is the subtitle of your book, and sell your home for more. So this is because you've written both sides of the dilemma.
Equation.
Yeah, both sides of the equation, the buying and the selling. I'm not sure which I would like to be on at the moment. It's all very confusing. Do you see a way through this?
Yeah, well, I do. And the most important thing is to just do a little bit of research before you go out there into the market. I would say, without exaggerating whatsoever, that 95% of people do not get the best result when they buy or sell real estate. When they're buying, they often pay more than they should. And when they're selling, almost 100% of sellers are getting ripped off these days because of the uniquely Australian scam called VPA, which stands for Vendor Pays Advertising. And honestly, Jeremy, it is just sickening.
But hasn't that always been the case, that the vendor, they say, here is your advertising budget?
No. Do you know there's 195 countries in the world, and Australia is the only country where sellers are asked to pay advertising money in advance of their homes being sold. So if their homes don't sell, let's say an elderly widow decides she wants to sell her home because she wants to help out her children and her grandchildren get a foot into the market, which is hard for first home buyers these days. So the agent comes out and says, I think I can get you $2 million. So the lady says, that's wonderful. Well, at that rate, I can help all my grandchildren, I can help everybody, and I can buy a place for myself. Everything will be wonderful. So she puts the house on the market and then finds out afterwards that, I can only get $1.5 million. Okay, no, thank you, I won't sell. But then she's got a bill for $10,000 for advertising. And if she doesn't pay it, some agents can, and there's another company now that use this pay later scheme, can put a caveat on her home so she can never sell it to anybody. And unless she pays that $10,000, it's monumentally unfair. I mean, if there was one thing I could have a wish right away to ban, is make it just the way it should be in all the other countries in the world, where people do not have to pay anything until such times as their homes are sold. And people, what is my house really fair enough? Shouldn't I pay for the advertising? Excuse me. Everybody knows within the real estate industry, Jeremy. And remember, I've worked in the real estate industry all my life, and I'm old now, just like you and I are both old. Okay, so
I refuse not only to get old, I refuse to grow up.
Well, I tell you what, just to tell you, Clint Eastwood's 96 or something. 95,
yeah.
But I love what he said. Just to tell you, I love what he said. He said, I refuse to let the old man in.
Yes. In fact, I think he wrote a song. It came from a movie called Mule, I think. And it was a song, a well-received song called Don't Let the Old Man In. It's very true. Yeah. Well, around this table, I've got Professor Ian Plimer and Isabel Taylor, who is 14.
Yes. 14.
14 years old and as smart as a whip. And Tony's just walked out of the room, and Dr. John Bruni has gone for a cup of coffee or something. So we've all got a certain experience in houses. We've all bought and we've all sold, I gather.
So you've all been ripped off at some stage.
We've all been ripped off, and I love the other book that you put out called Don't Sign Anything.
Yes. Well,
how do you avoid that? They say, here's your sales agreement. Sign it.
No, you say, no. I'm not signing until I know that I'm safe. Until this business of we've got buyers waiting. You see this all the time. You get a flyer and you've got buyers waiting. So then you call the agent and they say, give us $10,000 so we can find some buyers. But didn't you say you've got buyers waiting?
You don't paint a very flattering picture of the real estate industry. Isabella, are you worried about the future ahead of you? You're going to have to go through all of this. You're going to have to buy a unit or a house, and it looks like it's going to get harder and harder.
I think,
the prices are coming down a little bit now.
It's very interesting. My mum works in real estate, so I help her sell the houses that our family builds. And I've seen over the past, I think it's 3 years, we've built a few lots. It's gotten it was very, like when the property market was very hot, it was easier to sell homes. But you can see generally with the market, it's very difficult now because people are scared. People don't know where the market's going to go. It's holding, and Adelaide's the only state in Australia where it's holding like it is. Everywhere else has gone down after the federal government's changes they've made. And so it's a really difficult time, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I think if we can have a good government that can spend money and save money correctly and get us out of the monumentous debt that we are in, it will be much easier for all Australians.
And get away from the ideology which seems to drive this government more than anything else. But more importantly, when you go to an election and you promise that you're not going to touch capital gains tax and you are not going to do anything about negative gearing, and then you go ahead and do it. I mean, that's terrible. What do you think of the current arrangement, Neil?
I think, and I'm going to disagree with you on this, because there is no way, and this is what happened before with Bill Shorten. He said, look, when I get in, he said, I'll probably do something with negative gearing and capital gains tax.
Well, that was honest.
Well, yes, but look where he went. Honest politicians, they're like honest real estate. They don't succeed. So the fact is, what Albo has done, as much as it's upset the wealthy people like me who've got plenty of products. I said to Tanya Plibersek on SBS's Dateline show or whatever it was one night, I said, tax me more. I've got 30 investment properties. Hit me harder. I know I've worked hard and all these things I've got up and I've had cold showers in the morning and I've worked 14, 16-hour days. But I've been fortunate in my life, Jeremy. I really have. When I bought my first home, the lady that was mentioning a moment ago about how tough it is, when I bought my first home, I paid $28,000 for it, and my annual income was $30,000. Now, you show me anybody that can do that almost anywhere in Australia today, it's impossible. And, people saying, oh, well, it was always been tough. We had high interest rates and all these sort of things. No, we had it a lot easier. We really do. It's really tough for people today. I wish we could. I think of the first responders and the nurses that look after people in hospitals and the people that dedicate themselves to looking after other people in our society, and how they don't get a chance. And yet we see books in the bookshop saying, oh, buy 50 houses by the time you're 20 and do 25 or something like this, and how to get rich in real estate. I was going to write a book with this title. You said you don't like the title, don't say anything. Well, here's one for you. Give up work, invest in real estate, die of shame.
Oh,
but the publishers wouldn't take it, though.
I don't think you'd sell many of those. Professor, what do you think?
Well, I have a different view. I finished last week a book called Gold, Everything That You Need to Know.
Yes.
So there are other assets besides real estate, and gold has only got a 10,000-year history. And if you spread assets, partly real estate, partly bullion, cash, shares, then I think you're buffered against some of the great changes that we see. And my wife and I were purchasing a waterfront place in Newcastle at 17.9% interest rates in Paul Keating's time.
Yes.
And we've, like many people our age, and we're both in our 80s, it's been quite a haul. We also own a few houses, but we also own other assets, which I'm quietly giving away. So I think balancing a portfolio rather than only being in real estate is probably a more secure way to go.
No, spread the risk.
Of course.
Spread the risk, yes.
But still, don't you, Professor, don't you also feel a tad a bit of empathy, I'm not even saying sympathy, but empathy to some young people today who paramedics and, save people's lives and then go home and find that their rent has gone up. I had somebody the other day, their rent went up in Melbourne, their rent went up from $500 a week to $800 a week.
No, I don't feel empathy. I actually feel really angry because we have senior public servants in Canberra who are earning $500,000 a year who are not doing anything with people. It's generally against people. And yet we have those at the front line, the AMBOs, the police,
yes.
People in the military, etc., who are struggling in life. And
yes.
they are the people who get literally shot at. They are the people who carry huge burdens, and we are not looking after them well enough. So I think we've got a very disjointed society at present. I cannot see that you can justify a senior public servant in Canberra earning $800,000 a year. I just see that that's absolutely and totally wrong, and my solution, which I've discussed on this program a number of times, is to decentralise. Put the Department of Treasury at Gladstone, where we make a lot of money, the Department of Finance at Port Hedland, where we make a lot of money, Department of Infrastructure at Rabbit Flat in Northern Territory, where we have no infrastructure, Department of Water at Wilcannia, where long-term employees will see a flood every 15 years, Department of Ageing, say at a town which is declining like Broken Hill.
Oh, courageous, Minister, courageous.
Oh, thank you, Sir Humphrey.
I've got a question that's bursting out of me. Why don't you go into politics and fix these things?
Well, I'm too old. I have been offered a Senate seat, which I would have won, but I'm too old for it. And the third thing is that I would go down in income enormously. I can't see the point in going down that much in income.
You're not going to sell the Bentley, though, are you?
No, I won't be selling the Bentley. The Bentley's my long-distance driving car.
Yeah.
It's only done 100,000 in 4 years.
Okay, that's a respectable mileage.
Yeah, that all. Yes. Well, it's. I drive to Melbourne a lot. I drive to Broken Hill a lot, and then I've got another vehicle I use in Broken Hill, which is a 60-year-old rally car. Around town, we've got a couple of Mercs that we drive. So I like to be buying fossil fuels and burning them. And hearing the noise they make when you burn them.
Crackling. Neil, go on.
Yes. I was just laughing. I was like, what about writing a book then and sharing these ideas with the rest of us? Because I like some of your ideas. I like what you're saying.
Oh, you've written, I don't know how many books you've written, Professor.
I've just finished the 17th.
17th book.
Yes.
So his thoughts are well and truly out there.
So, can you give me his name again, please?
Professor Ian Plimer.
How do you spell the surname?
Plimer.
Ian Plimer.
Look it up. My publisher is Connaught Court in Brisbane.
Okay.
Although it's not been the only publisher. I've had Random House. I actually published a book once with the ABC.
Ian, which is your best book?
A book that came out in 2020 called Green Murder. There was a book I put out in 1993 on religious fundamentalism. I called that one Telling Lies for God. That was a good book.
Ian, I will buy all your books.
And the bestseller is not my best book, but it was a book called Heaven and Earth, and I sold 150,000 copies worldwide with that book.
Well, that's fantastic. So I've come on the program today to promote my book and ended up promoting all your books. That's fantastic.
Well, listen, Neil.
No, but they're probably more worthy.
I'm
happy to concede that.
Everyone is worthy. I've got to ask you, Neil.
Yes.
Negative gearing. Negative gearing, as I understand it, came about in 1936 when a lot of our tax law was being written. A lot of tax law. But negative gearing was introduced to do something about a housing shortage in that year. Now, I can't, and it did work. It worked. Now, I can't understand a government introducing negative gearing to fix a housing problem. Then years later, another government comes in and says, we'll get rid of negative gearing to fix a housing problem. I can't see how that works.
I know. Well, things aren't working, are they? And
no.
Although I do believe that the first home buyers of Australians today, and I've been saying this now for the last 20 years, I've got the footprints of investors on their backs in the stampede to buy homes. And I just really do. You know, to use a home should be a right, like food. You know, food should be a right, like the safety should be a right. And I just think that this has been denied for so many people today. That's all. I wish we could do more to get somebody into a home. You know, just give them a hand and say, well, look, you can get into this home, but you're not allowed to profit from it or sell from it. I think it is wrong somehow, and I don't know the solutions to it, but I think it is wrong to see so many people making so many hundreds of thousands of dollars out of real estate while other people can't even get a foot in the door. You know, Gandhi said that there are 7 things in life that will destroy us, and the first is wealth without work. Yeah. And I see a lot of people getting wealth without work, and I see a lot of people that are working hard not getting the wealth. That's what I see.
What about
I see it in the real estate?
They talk about intergenerational equity, fairness. it strikes me as strange when I read that this is the generation. This is, well, your generation, Isabella, coming up. You will be the first generation to be denied the things that my generation
took for granted.
Not only took for granted, but exploited. And we were talking about the fact that earlier my mother was a widow, a war widow, and if it hadn't been for Legacy, who were very supportive of my mother and the two kids.
Yes.
So life was tough. And I think, Professor, your background was tough, but because of the age in which we grew up, there were advantages that we could take. Perhaps we took them for granted. I don't know, but there were things we could do to provide for our future. This generation is going to find it a hell of a lot harder, and I don't think we should deny them the opportunities that we had.
Well, Legacy looked after your mum. But I'm saying, which is just terrific, because I have a lot of time for Legacy myself. My grandfather had his 21st birthday on the hills of Country. So I'm well aware of the sacrifices that were made by not just the people that went overseas, but that stayed home as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, but who's here today to help our first home buyers properly? Every time they make a first home buyers grant or do something like that, it just pushes the prices up even more and makes it even harder. It's all like counterproductive. But we really should be thinking first and primarily about the most important people in our society. And I believe the most important people in our society are not the ones that Ian just mentioned about these senior public servants earning $800,000 a year. They're the paramedics that are earning $80,000 a year.
Yes.
These are the most important people in our society. I think we should do more to help them. Now, I've been fortunate that I've been, made a fortune out of working in the real estate industry. Thankfully, I've never, in 54 years of working in the real estate industry, I've never had a complaint from an honest consumer, and I've got nothing that I would be ashamed of. In fact, if anything, I do feel like a complete because there is so much skullduggery going on in real estate today. It's horrendous. But so many of the things that are being done now could be done to help people get a foot into the housing market. There is no need for people to have to pay thousands of dollars up front for real estate advertising. It doesn't go on in any other country in the world. They do it without that.
Well, there's one point on that. The legacy that we're leaving the young people in this country is horrendous. We have massive debt in this country. We are paying interest of $60,000 per minute for that debt, and that debt now is $56,000 for every man, woman and child. That is the legacy we are leaving younger people who are trying to buy their first house. And until governments stop frittering away money with vanity schemes, building pyramids in their honour and these sort of things, and actually operating an economy as we do around the kitchen table where we spend a certain amount and we don't spend beyond our means, then I think the future generation has got huge problems. We cannot have governments borrowing to pay back interest. We cannot have governments spending more money than they earn. They have the ability to raise more money through taxation, but they also have the ability to lower their costs. And everyone in business lowers costs when times are tough. And that is an ethical problem that we have coming out of Canberra. They spend more than they earn, and the young people will pay because that's just the debt is just being kicked in the can down the road.
All right, but what I'm saying is that because of the wastage that goes on, you're saying the similar thing in another category perhaps, but I'm saying within the real estate industry, because of the wastage that goes on, if we were to cut out some of that wastage, if we were to ban some of the schemes that go on in real estate now and divert that money to assist first home buyers, a lot of more people would be able to get homes than are able to get homes today. It just makes me sick to see what goes on behind the scenes all the time in real estate. It really does. And I've not only been sued mercilessly and attacked over the years from people in the real estate industry, I've been beaten up and put in hospital over the things I've said. Yeah, but I mean, I would give my life for this, Ian. I really mean this. I can't stand seeing Australia's. I'm okay. You might sound like a lefty by saying this, but I can't stand seeing Australia's battlers, the good folk, good decent folk, getting ripped off, and that's what happens in real estate. The real estate agents are it's very hard to be an honest real estate agent today. It really is very hard to do it honestly. And look, that's why the turnover is so incredibly high. People get into the industry, 90% of them go in their first 12 months because you have to do dodgy things if you're to succeed. And we need to look at this. Housing is worth 10 times the amount that our stock market is worth in trillions of dollars in this country. And so much of it is being wasted. Now, I write books, which if people buy the books and read the books, they will say, well, gee, I can save money when I'm selling my house. I can stand up to these agents and I can take control. In fact, one of the best books I wrote was How to Control Real Estate Agents, instead of being controlled yourself.
All right. Well, tell me, how do you control real estate agents?
Well,
put it in a nutshell.
Okay, I'll put it in a nutshell. Everybody seems to have I went with my wife one time to an island that was supposed to be really nice. I won't give the name of the island, but it sounded like Snake Island or something like that. It was one of those islands off the Queensland coast.
Oh, yes.
And we booked for a week, and we couldn't stand it. There was mold in the showers. We could hear the people next door doing whatever they were doing during the night. It was just terrible. So I rang up in the morning and I said, look, I've decided I want to go. And they said, Mr. Jenman, I'm not sure if you're aware of our cancellation policy. And I said, well, no, I'm not, but I'm not sure if you're aware of my expectation policy, right? so let's just call it quits. You sound like a nice lady on reception. I'm a nice guy. This doesn't suit me being here. I'm going. And you say to people, when agents say, oh, it's our policy we do this, you say, well, I've got a family policy. And my family policy is I don't sign these documents that you say are standard, run by the Real Estate Institute, which is there to protect real estate agents, and they'll admit that themselves. I'm not going to sign these documents until I get somebody independent to look at it and cross out all the nasty clauses that are in it. I'm not going to pay you any money until you do what you say you're going to do. You tell me that my house is worth $2 million. Will you sell it for $2 million? And I'll pay money. If you try and sell it for $1.5 million and cut me down, by $500,000, well, then I want to cut your commission down. And see, this is the problem. All these things are going on realestate.com, which, by the way, should be known as realestate.com. I sincerely mean that.
I understand you've been sued a few times.
Well, yeah, I wish they could sue me on that one. I'd love the chance to show what they're doing. But their fees have gone up 100 times in the last 30 years since they started. 100 times. In the last 30 years, the average Australian's wage is 3 times. Real estate agents' wages have gone up 10 times. So come on, it's so out of whack. There's so much going on that Ian and yourselves, with everything that you do, because you're not doing it every day. I'm doing it every day. I'm seeing it all the time. And there's a saying, the agents have got the experience and the home sellers have got the money. And there's a saying that when somebody with money meets a person with somebody with experience, the person with the experience is going to get the money, and the person with the money is going to get the experience. And that's what's happening at the moment. People are getting ripped off by going along with the status quo. And you don't have to go along with the status quo. You just say, no, I'm not going to pay you any money. I'm not going to sign anything until I know I'm safe.
There was a bloke I spoke to years ago who wrote a book called You Can Negotiate for Anything. His name was Herb Cohen. He was a great guest, Herb Cohen.
Yes, lovely guy.
Everything. I'm surprised you know the book because not many people do. But it's a great book.
I've read hundreds of books on negotiation, Jeremy. I have. And I did a survey of real estate agents. You'd think the number one skill agents should have is the skill to negotiate.
Yes.
And they call themselves negotiators. But negotiation doesn't mean pushing old ladies down in price. It doesn't mean underquoting a house to get buyers to come along and waste their money at auctions. No, that's not negotiation. That's just misleading stuff. Proper negotiation is how you do it fairly in equity. I mean, honestly and truly, you think about real estate auctions. Nobody really stop and think about it. Do you really think that you get the best price from the buyers by yelling at them with a hammer in your hand?
I never thought about it like that.
But I want people to think about it like this. I want people to think that the correct way to do it is to sit down and have private negotiations and do it properly. Because any agent that tells any seller that selling by auction is the best way to get the best price is either an idiot or a crook. Now, I've done lots of idiotic things in my life. I have, okay? And being an idiot doesn't make us a bad person, but that's what it is. There's no other alternative for the things that are going on in the real estate industry today.
But it's all legal, I take it. It's all above board.
Oh no. I'm glad we've got this anti-money laundering thing in place, because what I have seen over the years with the illegal money laundering going on through real estate is horrible. So people say it's illegal. No, it just hasn't been discovered. It's not examined enough. If it was a royal commission into the real estate industry, There will be a lot of CMYF for real estate agents, I can tell you. CMYF meaning clang mind your fingers when you get to jail, you know. You know what, Jeremy, you've got a great laugh. I'd like to record your laugh and use it as my ringtone on my phone.
Oh, anytime. Do you worry about AI in either real estate or writing books?
In some ways I do. I'm not sure. AI, like a lot of things, and I suppose a lot of us these days, it does frighten me a little bit. But it's so almost real, isn't it?
Well,
it's real. I mean,
it's better than real. It's better than real.
Oh dear, I don't know if it's well.
It's scary.
It is scary. It is frightening. Yes, it is. That's a whole other topic. I mean, today real estate agents have got AI calling people, pretending to be humans and saying, "Hello, this is your real estate agent. Do you want to sell your house?" So the real estate agent doesn't have to feel embarrassed when somebody tells them to get lost. But I used to tell them, I said, just use my name. I said, and then at the end of the day, you can tell me lots of people abuse me today. I'm not worried about that. but now they're using AI, of course. And
how many books have you written about real estate? Is that your only topic, that you stick to the one thing?
No, I want to write. I'd love to write a biography about Somerset Maugham.
Oh, really? Why Somerset Maugham?
Because at 21 years of age, I bought a book at Brisbane Airport of his, which set the course of my life, and I learned so much about wisdom and about how to live life through Somerset Maugham.
What was the book? What was the book?
The book was called The Summing Up.
Oh.
And the last biography written about Somerset Maugham was written by Lady Selina Hastings, and she dedicated the book to me and my wife. Yeah. So the book I would like to write, that would be called Saving Somerset Maugham, because he's been misjudged and misunderstood. Similar to what Alain de Botton wrote a book about how Proust can change your life. Mm-hmm. I'd like to write, say, how Maugham could change your life, because that's what I would really love to do. And I'm hoping I've got some fine sons. I've got 3 sons, one who's a naughty boy and 2 others that are pretty good. I love them all, of course, but the two other good ones, they're following me into the real estate world now, and they're really enjoying it. And as good young lads, they can't believe what's going on. You know, the definition of fraud is to obtain a financial advantage by deception. Mm-hmm. And every day, agents are either doing it deliberately or they're forced to do it to obtain a financial advantage for themselves by deception. It's just rampant in the real estate. I mean, consider this. If you're an honest real estate agent and a house is worth, honestly, about $1 million, and you go out and tell somebody that your house is worth $1 million, and then the agent comes behind you who's a liar, who says, "Oh, put it to auction, you'll get 17 million, whatever, I'm being sarcastic now, but that's what happens. They go out and they can quote them some enormous price. And then the person signs up with the liar gets paid. And the honest person says, "Hang on, I told the truth and I lost. The liar told a lie and won. What do I do to succeed? I either get out of this business or I start telling lies."
Well, it must be retrievable in some way. What do we do? Here we are with a house we're looking to buy, we're looking to sell. How do you pick a real estate agent? I'm assuming you have to have a real estate agent.
Yes. Well, no, you don't have to have a real estate agent. No, you don't. If you go onto a company called Product Review or one of those independent reviews things, right? There's a company called Rate My Agent, which is funded by agents, and the Morgan poll showed that 95% of the public do not trust real estate agents. But when you go onto Rate My Agent, 98% of people love real estate agents. And I think people are waking up to this now. It should be called Fake My Agent. Right?
Okay. Well, how do we sell or buy a house? What's the best way? The simple, honest, simple way? Straightforward way.
Okay. Get one of my books.
Okay. Which one? This one? The new one?
Yeah, get the new one. And
how many books are there? How many books have you written?
10.
10, and they're all on this subject, and Somerset Maugham is...
No, the 9 of them are on real estate, and I wrote one about what I feel it means to really succeed in life. I wrote one which is probably, I think Ian said to me one before that his best-selling book was not his best book, and that's how it happened in my first book. Real Estate Mistakes has sold nearly 2 million copies, but my best book, which is called Success Takes Character, has sold about 100,000 copies, and so it's not even it's only 5% of the other one, and that would be my best book. Yes.
There are a lot of Chinese real estate agents around here. Well, there are a lot of Chinese residents around here.
Well, see, the Chinese are very good negotiators. The Chinese in China, they have the lowest commission rates in the world. There you go.
Yeah. What sort of commission should we be paying?
Generally speaking, nothing.
Nothing? Well,
Nothing, yeah.
why is he in the business if he's not going to make a quid?
Because what you should be doing, no, I'm saying in most cases, most people would be better off if they sold their house without an agent. Many, many times,
I see.
The buyers come from locally. They come from next door. We had a farm that sold recently, and the owners paid a commission of $600,000 to sell their farm, and the neighbour bought it. Okay.
You could have just gone next door, knocked on the door.
Exactly. You could have leaned over the fence. No, it takes too far. You could have leaned over the fence and said, "G'day, Jack, you want to buy my farm?"
Yeah. But you don't know how much. You don't know how much it's worth. You look to some expert to tell you more about the subject than you know.
But you can get a valuer. The valuers, I often say that valuers are the hidden heroes of real estate. They really are, because the valuers have got no hidden motive or an agenda. If you want to find out the price of your home, you should invest in a few $100s and get a registered valuer to come out and value it. And they don't get angry. They don't care if you get angry with them about what you say the price of their house is worth. If they think your house is worth $1 million, they'll tell you $1 million, and you'll get a true indication of the value by hiring a valuer.
Do you reckon if you were going to try and make some money out of real estate, what's the best way to go today, looking at the landscape that we have in front of us?
To make some money out of real estate, so you mean make a profit out of it?
Well, okay, you don't want to lose money even on your family home, even temporarily. You don't want to get into a Fannie Mae kind of situation, do you?
No. Yeah, or Freddie Mac, all those things.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Freddie Mac, no. If you want to make money out of real estate, one of the nicest and best ways to do it, which is also very rewarding and satisfying, is to buy an old rundown home for a good price in an area that is not popular at the moment, spend some time renovating and doing it up and selling it, and that can be very rewarding. Yeah. But I just wanted to say this. When you talk about selling without an agent, if you look on product review and look at the ratings of agents on that, you'll find that the average real estate agent has got 72% negative rating, okay? But the companies that help people sell their homes without an agent have got an average of 99% positive rating. Now, okay, if you want to put your house, because think about this: if the real estate agent says to you, "Give me $5,000 so I can advertise your house to find a buyer," then why do you need a real estate agent? Why wouldn't you just spend your own money, advertise yourself, and find your own buyer? Well, the answer to that is realestate.com won't allow normal private sellers on their website. It's shut only for real estate agents. But there are ways around this. And the private sale companies have worked out a way of getting around it, because they actually have a licensed real estate agent who agrees to accept no fee, no commission. So therefore, realestate.com have to accept the ad. And so you can get, if you go to a normal, here's an interesting, huge point for your listeners now. If you go to a real estate agent and say you want to sell your house, it's going to cost you $5,000 to get on realestate.com and all those other websites like Domain and so on, okay, all homes and so on. About $5,000. Yeah. Okay. If you go to a company called Property Now that I've got nothing to do with whatsoever, it'll cost you about $700. And there's no commission to have to pay. So instead of paying $5,000 for advertising plus $25,000 for commission, which is say $30,000, you'll pay $700, and there's a good chance you'll sell your house without having to pay the commission. Now, what I often say is it's worth a try, surely.
Oh, it sounds good to me. Or
just ask the neighbours. Just ask the neighbours before you're thinking of selling. Yeah. Just put the word out. The last 3 or 4 homes that my wife and I have sold, including one farm, we just put the word out. In France, 60% of homes are now sold without agents, because the agents in France got so greedy that the public sort of almost boycotted and said, well, we're not going to put up with this anymore. So the word's got around is when somebody wants to sell their home. I mean, years ago, Jeremy, when you talk about, say, going back 20, 30, 40 years or something, when people wanted to sell their homes, they wouldn't go to a real estate agent, they'd go to a hardware store. And what they do, I'll tell you why, they'd get half a dozen keys cut for their home, or a dozen keys cut for their home. They'd go down to the dozen real estate agents in town, throw a key on the counter and say, this is the address of my house. Whoever sells it first for the best price gets paid.
I tell you
what.
And
you can still do that today.
This would make a really good radio show, in the sense that you say it's just about getting the word out there. A great way. I'll go away and think about that on the weekend, how you can turn it into a radio station which basically gets the word out for people who want to sell their houses without a commission.
Yes.
You can negotiate that commission, though, can't you? I mean, as Herb Cohen said, everything's negotiable.
Herb Cohen is right. Everything's negotiable. And if a real estate agent says to you, our fees are not negotiable, here's the question to ask. Because this is why I wish that the book I've written now, the one called Every Question Sellers Should Ask, I should have written this one, it should have been my first one. But the question to ask, when an agent says, our fees are not negotiable, you say, have you ever discounted your fees ever? And they'll say, well, yes. You say, well, why don't you discount me then?
Yeah.
And here's the other point. If you expect me to take a lower price on my home, why shouldn't you take a lower price on your commission?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Sure, commission's okay. The number one word you need to remember with commission is justify. Somebody needs to be able to justify it. Like everybody, like Ian was saying a moment ago about these public servants, you got me thinking now, $800,000 a salary. It clearly cannot be justified.
No.
And what people need to do is they need to think about their greatest asset before they put it for sale. You know, agents are trained to overcome the I want to think it over objection, okay? Well, what people need to do is they need to think it over. They need to just take the time. 6 months before you want to sell your house, a year before you want to sell your house, start doing a little bit of research, that's all. And be careful, because the most frightening words I ever hear is, oh, Neil, I found a nice real estate agent. Look, never mind how nice they are, it's what they do that's important. And you ask me, how do you find a good agent? They're the very few agents, and there's some in Adelaide that do it, that only charge on success. So if your home doesn't sell, they wear the costs. They do. It's part of the risk of doing business. I mean, for goodness sake, if you're having some, now that the pandemic's over and you want to have some friends over for a barbecue, you don't go down to a butcher shop and say to the butcher, look, I've got a barbecue coming on the weekend. I want to order 200 rump steaks. And the butcher says, rump steaks, 200. Okay. All right. Well, give us $1,000 so I can advertise to find some cows. It's the same thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay? You go to a real estate agent because you want to buy a buyer. The agents have already got buyers most of the time. They didn't just open yesterday, did they?
No.
You know, they've got buyers, and we all know. I can show you from the training manuals, Jeremy. It says the main purpose of advertising is not to promote the home; it's to promote the agent. And with realestate.com, if you upgrade, which everybody gets, they tell them you've got to pay for an upgrade, you've got to pay for a premium so you can be first. 99% of people have sold the same story. They're all told you've got to be first. And it's like, well, how do they do that? How do they make sure everybody comes first? You know how they do it, Jeremy? They rotate them. Yeah. So Jeremy's property gets to be first for 2 minutes, and then Ian's property gets first for 2 minutes. It's sort of like booking a first-class seat to London and on Qantas, and then the plane takes off. You just settle down, put your feet up, sipping the champagne, and then the flight attendant taps you on the shoulder and says, okay, buddy, down the back, you've had your turn.
Tell me, this is brilliant stuff. There are a lot of women in real estate.
Yes.
In Adelaide, I've noticed that.
Yes.
Are women better real estate agents or salespeople than men? You see, I would trust a woman.
Well, the short answer is yes. Women are actually better negotiators. Women are more caring than men. Yes, they are. Unfortunately, if the woman is honest and decent and goes out and says your house is worth $1 million, then Larry the liar comes in and says, I'll get you $17 million at auction. They'll still sign with Larry the liar.
Oh, yeah, well, it's selling blue sky. Yeah,
I know. But generally speaking, and if you can find a woman that says she's happy to accept payment on success, see, they don't need the advertising money. They think they need it. And you know, I sat next to one of the senior executives from one of the major websites on an aeroplane. I've got the flight number, I've got the details, I've got all the name of it. I sat next to her on a flight from Brisbane to Melbourne. And she said to me, you know, the real estate agents and the public, they see us major web portals as a necessary evil. She said, what they don't realise is we're evil and we're not necessary. I thought,
I love it. I love it.
And then she said, and when I was selling my own house in Northcote, she said, the agent told me that I had to pay $6,000 for an upgraded advertisement. And I told him to get lost.
Yes.
That I work for one of these companies, and I know that an upgraded advertisement is no better than normal $100 standard advertisement. I told him to get lost.
Yeah, well, they charge you. My experience is they charge you for the sign out the front of the house. They charge you for absolutely every aspect of.
They charge you for the Chinese fee to translate. Some of them do charge you for a fee to translate it into Chinese.
Yes. Listen, wonderful.
Everywhere they can.
Yep. Wonderful to talk to you. It really is. And congratulations on the new book. The publisher is Wiley.
Yes.
Wiley.
And thank you for giving me such airtime.
No, I think you're absolutely brilliant. Questions every seller must ask. How to avoid costly mistakes and sell your home for more. Neil Jenman, best-selling author of Don't Sign Anything. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much.
No,
goodbye. Goodbye to Ian and that nice lady you got there.
Yep. Wonderful to talk to you.